Good morning, traders. It is 8:01 a.m. Chicago time on Thursday, the 18th of November, 2021. This is episode number 2119. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Good morning, bonjour, guten Abend, or bon après-midi, actually. Guten Abend. So, mixed open again. The S&P slightly up 25 basis points on the S&P. The Dow up 7 basis points, basically one rotation. If you look to the right, you'll see that the Dow, a single rotation to the Dow on a 1 minute basis is 35 points. So taking a 23 into 35, you can see that we're only one rotation away. The Nasdaq's up relatively strong. Nasdaq is being lifted pre-market by Nvidia, which reported yesterday. Nvidia is up 9.44%. Nvidia is also lifting all of the chip stocks except for Intel. Nvidia says that it's going to move into the processor markets, data center processor markets. Very big news. Of course, the competitor there is Intel. Intel down 16 basis points. Nvidia up 944 basis points, lifting AMD, which is up 295 basis points. QCOM up 80 basis points, and so on and so forth. So that's really what's lifting the NQ. Just so you know, Nvidia is the fifth largest stock in the NQ. It holds about 4.9% weighting. For those of you who trade the NQ, you should know what stocks are in there. The heaviest weighted stock in the Nasdaq is Microsoft. Microsoft carries about 2.8% of the stock. Apple comes next. Apple carries 2.59% of the stock. Amazon follows with 7.61%. Then there's Tesla, 5.55%. And then Nvidia at 4.87%, 4.9%. And then comes Google, and then comes Facebook. So as you can see, having Nvidia be up 9.5% or 950 basis points can really lift the stock. So since yesterday's reopen, the Nasdaq has been pushing up. It has pushed up 125 points, I think, something like that. So that's what we're starting with. So the positioning, though, overall stays mixed because we're not seeing it across the board. We're also seeing the 30-year bond and the 10-year note just kind of sideways. The Eurobond up 18 basis points. So again, a mixed market. Crypto is getting hit again. I mean, 2% up or down in crypto is just another day. In fact, 5 or 6% is just another day. But Bitcoin and Ether have been pulling back since the most recent highs. We're seeing metals kind of going sideways a little bit. We've been stuck at this 1865 to 1875 area in gold for some time. As far as key earnings, JD.com, which is a major online retailer out of China, I believe, Alibaba, Macy's, and Kohl reported before the open today. After the close, we get AMAT, Applied Materials, Ross Stores, another retailer, Intuit, a software company in Palo Alto, is a network equipment company. Those are all reporting after the close. What are the key events? We still hold this question mark after the Fed chair. It was announced yesterday or the day before that the Fed chair, the new Fed chair announcement is going to be released in 4 days. That puts it into Saturday, I think. I think they're doing it so that the market is not open. So that's still in question. Japan released its stimulus plan, fiscal stimulus plan. It's the largest that they've had ever. And then we're coming into December where the U.S. debt and budget are in question. Back in September, they all kicked the ball down to December, and there's so much discord in the political system here in the U.S. that that's likely to be a difficult process. Today, we've got Feds Williams at 9:30. We did have initial claims before the open. Initial claims came in higher than expected, 268,000 versus 260,000. And Philly Fed came in also higher. The manufacturing index came in better at 39 versus 24. Initial claims, the higher the number than the consensus, the worse. We want lower claims versus people making their initial jobless claims. So we have Fed's chair, Fed's Williams, we have ECB's Lane, Fed's Evans later today, Fed's Daily later today, and then this evening, the inflation rate out of Japan expecting 0.1%, and then this evening also out of Great Britain, the GfK consumer confidence. This is a key figure for Great Britain, and you are right, love and peace. I did see that. I misspoke. Google is represented twice in the NASDAQ, GOOG, Goog, and GOOGL. The sum of those is 7.83 is what I see, 7.83%. So that puts Google ahead of Amazon in the third slot after Microsoft and Apple in the NASDAQ. Thanks for pointing that out. That was an oversight on my part. The interesting thing is there are 102 components of the NASDAQ 100, but some of those are repeating, different share types. Appreciate your help there. I like to set the record straight. As far as the S&P multi-distribution, 115,000 contracts, which is pretty weak in terms of volume. This has basically drifted up on thin air. The overnight inventory is 96% long. It was 100% long a minute ago. For some reason, it's 96%, but in either case, it is way up against the upper limit. 19.5 points so far today. With a point of control close to the 4,700, we're back to 46.98, 97.75 on the point of control for the session. A multi-distribution profile, so we have not, the profile saying that we have not found consensus, that we are likely to continue to actively seek or discover value today. So what do we have for today? In terms of yesterday, for our review segment, yesterday the primary scenario was looking for a pullback into basically what we had here, but we were looking for a turn, and we were looking for 47.02 at least to the upside. So we did get the turn at 80. This was a decent support area. The 80 carries over from last week. Actually, we turned at the 80. We went to 79 quarter, and then we pushed the initial bounce high. As you can see here, the initial bounce was at 95 and a quarter. We pushed to 96.75 yesterday. We did not tag settlement. There's a high probability that today's session would tag the prior session settlement. It's not extremely high. It's like 72%, if I recall. Again, past performance is not indicative. But in general, we do touch the prior day's settlement before we make the move of the day. We'll see if we miss it again today, because we're opening a lot higher today than where we settled. Yesterday's settlement's at 46.86 and a quarter. You should know what yesterday's settlement is, and the settlement is not the same as the close. They're very often within a couple ticks of each other. So if you only have the close, that's fine, but you should know where the market closed versus where it's opening, so you know if there's an internal gap or if there's an external gap. If the market's opening above the range, that's an external gap. if the market's opening away from the prior close or settlement, that's called an internal gap. And today we have what looks like an external gap. So gap rules apply. So we might want to check to see if the market makes a gap pullback and go. And in that situation, we'll be looking for all-time highs, which I've talked about since Monday, that this week is very likely to take out the all-time highs and make its way to 47.15, 20, and then eventually 47.50. I'm expecting that to happen today, given the posture that we're in. So yesterday, we pushed the initial balance high, and then we immediately dropped down. And then the rest of the session was just a mess, back and forth, into the close, complete balance. That's interesting. Complete balance. That's weird. My platform shut down. Okay, well, I was going to show you on Edge Pro X what that looks like, but you can see here a completely Gaussian profile with an excess at the bottom and an excess at the top. Very, very balanced. We finished in the middle where we had the full session mid, VWAP, the RTH mid and VWAP all coinciding in the middle. Complete balance yesterday after pulling back. And what we were looking for yesterday, we were paying attention to yesterday, was the 95.50 was this cutoff point. We talked about this 95.50 being all important. So this push to 96.75 and failure set up actually an opportunity. If you were focused and you were on it, that was a great opportunity. The time of day wasn't ideal, but that's what we ended up with. So we ended up taking out all of the normal stats that we look at, the overnight stat, the IB stat. We did not do, we did the overnight point of control stat. We didn't do the prior settle stat. And then we open back up and we immediately take off again, being lifted by the electronic component stocks or the chip stocks, mainly in the overnight session based on the stock heat map, the pre-market stock heat map. We have a multi-distribution profile, so we hung out here for a little bit and then broke to the upside, and we are breaking yesterday's high. So my rules are to go in that direction, to look in that direction. Okay, so that's the summary of today. Again, the volume's pretty light, but then the volume's generally light when we are in a rally market. So we had our reversal last Friday. We've put in higher lows every day since. So the one-time framing is higher. One-time framing is higher. The trend is up, and I'm expecting this 47.1175 to go. The key area, over under area in this zone is 72.50. That's the MC point of control. We do have another high volume node at 90, but we're trading up against 4,700. Be careful this morning coming into the S&P, as we have a century figure at 4,700 right above us. We have a naked point of control at 4702.50. So for this, it means that we're opening in a gap, and we're going to see as it opens whether or not it pulls back before it pushes. So hands off early today until it decides to make a push. I want to remind everybody that if you're on YouTube, you'll notice that pinned to the top is the link to today's public webinar. I'll be covering some specifics today. It's not going to be one of these, oh, do your journal and show up every day and do your homework and figure out your edge type of thing. We're going to talk about some specifics that a lot of traders fail to pay attention to or put weight on, like how do you size your stops properly. I'll share what stop sizings I'm using for various products, including the ES, RTY, NASDAQ, YM, CL, GC, DAX, Euro stocks, and so on and so forth, based on statistics. I'll show you what that looks like, and I'll show some other pieces that you really need to focus on we all really need to focus on and do again and again and again in order to figure this thing out and to trade professionally. Success is never guaranteed, but it's I feel like a lot of people just go in circles and are just putting themselves through repeated learning cycles and never really making progress, and then ultimately deciding that it's all rigged. It's all rigged. It's all just a few people making money and everybody else losing money, and so on. So you've got to do the work to get there. Register at the number 2ct.pro. Go to ct.pro/trade-like-a-pro, or hit the link in the chat at the top, or find it on my Twitter feed, twitter.com/FuturesTrader71. Let me ask you, how many of you are in Vegas? How many of you guys live in Las Vegas here? Is anybody from Vegas? If so, are you going to the Traders Expo in February? Curious. All right, here's what we're looking at for today. All right, primary scenario this morning, yesterday's high right here, the 95, 50, 96, very important this year. Very important not this year, today. Very important today right here. So we are opening just above. We tested we tested the 95 just now on a pullback in the S&P and holding above. The open is expected to be an open auction. I'm expecting it to revert back into the range, consolidate into yesterday's range, and then looking for it to bounce off of the 95 area. 95 to 92 is expected to be support this morning, as it was yesterday. 95 to 92.50 actually. Looking for it to consolidate, and then I'm looking for it to lift, looking for an impulse up to lift it through the overnight high. For the overnight stat, I'm creating this jagged area here because we have a naked point of control at 47.0250. So if you're long and you're pushing into 0250, expect that there would be some size there. Expect it to jockey around a little bit. But overall, the expectation is that we would take out last week's high at 47.07 and then to drive through 47.11 to 15. That takes us from 46.95 to 47.15, 20 points, which is the expected range. For the current volatility. That'll be scenario one. So what are we looking at? We're looking at 0250. We have the century figure, the 00. Not going to put that on here. We have the 07. Then we have the 1175, 1112. And I'm looking to target the 15 would be gravy. If we can get the 15, it is really clear to go to 20. 20 is the next figure. We've stopped at 20 on every century since 1200. We tend to stop at the 20. Not sure why, but paying attention to that. If you look back, you'll notice that the 20 ultimately develops an HVN going back. That's the primary scenario there. The secondary scenario, open auction, pushes higher, squeezes the overnight high to 07, and then fails to hold those prices. It just basically we have a seller like we did up here, fails to hold those prices back to the overnight point of control, tests the 95, consolidates, chops here in the afternoon, and then later falls back in and gets us down to settlement at 46.86 would be the target for the short side once we break into the prior day's range and hold there. So what does break look like? We break, we attempt to come out, we can't, and we fall back in. We take out the low that we made once we made the break. We pull back and we fall back in. That sets up a short, And in that case, the target would be 46.86 and a quarter, the prior settlement. Okay, so those are the two key plays. Most likely we're to drift up, but in either case, we're looking for a higher low again today. If we take out the prior low, that could be a real squeeze for the longs, back to 67 double bottom. A lot of numbers, but that's the map for today. Good luck, and I'll catch you in today's event. Don't forget to register. It's at 1 p.m. Eastern U.S. time today. If you cannot attend, please register so that you can be sent the recording and know you will not be spammed. Good luck.